introduce our next speaker, Saeedeh Niktab Etaati. She is the researcher of oral history and popular culture at the Canadian Museum of History. In this role, she collaborates with diasporic communities, conducting oral history interviews to document their vernacular culture and living traditions. Before joining CMH, Saeedeh worked as an educator at Toronto's Aga Khan Museum and taught as a partial load academic professor in the Liberal Studies Department at Humber College. Additionally, she volunteers as the chair of the board for the Gola Initiative for Music and Culture, a not-for-profit organization that promotes Iranian expressive culture in Canada.
Thank you so much, Anita Jan, for this introduction, and thank you so much, Dr. Tajali. You're not on the screen anymore, for the keynote. So I start. I have my slides here. Perfect. In the morning of September 16, 2022, like millions of Iranians in diaspora, I woke up to the devastating news of Mahsa Jina Amini's brutal killing in Iran. Outraged and agonized, I found myself repeatedly checking the images from the last 3 days of her life in the hospital, where her distraught family waited by the ICU window. This haunting image lingered with me for weeks, often prompting me to quietly recite these verses by Parvin Etesami. ای گل تو ز جمعیت گلزار چه دیدی؟ جز سرزنش و بدسری از خار چه دیدی؟ رفتی به چمن لیک قفس گشت نصیبت. غیر از قفس ای مرغ گرفتار چه دیدی؟ I'm so sorry I didn't translate the verses because I didn't want to ruin the beauty and the rhythm. As it is widely known, in less than a week, the prophecy inscribed on her gravestone was fulfilled. And you can see here the picture of her gravestone. Jina would never die, as her name has become a symbol. Following her funeral, the Women Life Freedom movement gained momentum nationwide, catalyzing one of the most significant feminist uprisings in Iran's contemporary history. And as Dr. Tajali mentioned, the first intersectional uprising. Even today, a year and a half since the inception, the movement's enduring legacy persists in socio-political realms, from quiet acts of resistance in the daily lives of Iranian women to intellectual discourses like this symposium, held oceans away from Iran. Cultural and social awakening of the movement continue to reverberate for Iranians. As a woman from the 1980s generation, the Women Life Freedom movement represented the joy and dreams abducted from me and the generations of women before and after me for decades. It ignited a spark of hope and courage within me to envision a free and prosperous future for Iran. For the first time in my 10 years of living in Canada, my concern as an Iranian became a global matter due to the widespread reach of the movement and the international media attention it drew. All these motivations encouraged me to undertake a research project titled Women Life Freedom Beyond Borders at the Canadian Museum of History. My aim was to show how the Iranian movement's uprising evolved into a transnational feminist phenomenon while intertwining with other social movements. Working at the Canadian Museum of History, of course, my primary focus was Canada and its impact on diasporic communities and abroad. However, to analyze and document it thoroughly, it was inevitable to trace back and revisit the coinciding movements initiated in the Middle East and spread in diaspora during that time. And that's why towards the end of my presentation, I will briefly mention the Stop Hazara Genocide movement started in Afghanistan and then spread in diaspora, and its intersection with Iran's Women Life Freedom movement. Before I go into the details about my project, I would like to give you a brief introduction about the museum and its collection. Has anyone been at the Canadian Museum of History before? Has anyone visited? Okay, you. So, formerly known as Canadian Museum of Civilization, it is located in National Capital Region, Gatineau, and stands as the country's most visited museum, boasting the largest national collection. And these are pictures from the inside the museum. That was outside. Oh, this is inside, okay. This is the hall of the first people, and again, these are just the first floor. And here I put the mandate. Its mandate is to enhance Canadians' knowledge, understanding, appreciation of events, experiences, people, and objects that reflect and have shaped Canada's history and identity. It also seeks to enhance Canadians' awareness of world history and culture. Notably, all the materials acquired and approved for the National Collection will remain there in perpetuity and are accessible to the public at large. Through Women, Life, Freedom Beyond Borders, my main objective was to create a permanent history record of the Iranian women's uprising on an international scale. I started the project in October 2022, and I presented the last second acquisition file to our collection committee in December 2023. I developed a sub-collection in the National Collection that expands representation in the history of women activism in Canada. The sub-collection documented the material history of the movement of the Women, Life, Freedom movement in Canada through ephemera, which includes protest materials like placards, posters, artworks, collected from various locations across the country. It also constitutes the historical narrative, notably personal and collective stories of Iranian Canadians. Through the oral history I conducted with rally organizers, activists, academics, and artists. Additionally, there is a digital component to the collection, including archival materials such as videos, photographs gathered from marches, protests, actions, and demonstrations. These large acquisitions, whether in the form of artifacts or archival materials, were curated to capture the lived experiences of Iranian Canadians during this pivotal time, showcasing how they navigated and responded to the political, social, and emotional upheavals of their former home from afar. With the acquisition phase nearing completion, our museum is gearing up for upcoming public engagement programming scheduled for the next year. And I would be happy to discuss it further in our Q&A time. So I start with this event from the East Coast. St. John's, Newfoundland, Iran Solidarity Rally held on September 25th, 2022. Newfoundland holds a unique geographical position as the easternmost settlement in North America. Moreover, the St. John's Rally bears two historical significances for the Iranian diaspora in Canada. Firstly, it is considered one of the earliest solidarity rallies in North America, the smallest maybe. Secondly, the rally coincided with St. John's Pride Parade. The proximity of these two events led to the merging of two rallies, with many Pride participants joining Iranians in front of the colonial building in St. John's. So this placard is from the rally, featuring a Farsi translation of the inscription on Gina's gravestone that I opened my talk with. Dear Gina, you would never die. Your name has become a symbol. And this one, featuring the slogan, trans rights are human rights, highlights the intersection of the two rallies, the Pride Parade and the Iran Solidarity Rally. Now, this is from the West Coast. I wish I knew the Payment Society earlier and I could have collected stuff from Saskatoon. Anyway, I chose this poster used in the Freedom Rally for Iran on October 1st, 2022 in Calgary, Alberta. One important curatorial choice I've made in developing this collection was to highlight the intersectionality of the movement. For example, some of the materials I chose reflect the message that women in the slogan "Women Life Freedom" encompasses all women identifying individuals. Therefore, freedom is promised to all marginalized bodies, including queer and trans. And here the poster displays a picture of two queer activists, Zahra Siddiqui Hamedani, the one with the glasses, and Elham Chubdar, who were detained and initially sentenced to death in 2021. The slogan "Queer Life Freedom," as you can see in Farsi and also the translation in English, is just as powerful as the visual. So this call to action. Another noteworthy early protest in Canada is this demonstration. It was organized by artist Hajar Moradi in front of the Legislative Assembly of Ontario on September 19, 2022. Hajar is the one on the first picture on the right of the screen, left of the screen, sorry. During this event, Moradi, along with a group of queer feminists and activists that you can see their pictures there, cut her hair as a symbolic performance of solidarity, a gesture which had become globally recognized throughout this movement. What makes this action particularly interesting for me as a researcher was the poster, and you can see the original poster. This was designed by Hajar, and it was used in Canada. The one that we acquired for the museum was actually used for that specific event, and soon it gained international popularity. Let me show you this. I have here pictures of the Spanish version of the poster featuring the phrase "Di su nombre," say her name in Spanish, which served as a call to action in a similar demonstration in front of the Iranian embassy in Mexico City. And you can see people in action, really. Now, speaking of internationally known posters, yes. Here we have this remarkable poster by Iranian-Canadian artist Wahid Fazel. On the right, you see the digital version. These two are the actual hard copy used in rallies. So let me see. Oh, yeah, okay. So, sorry. These two, they were used in Toronto's rally that was mentioned by Dr. Tajalli on October 1st, 2022, which was reported as one of the largest gatherings of Iranians in diaspora since the 1979 revolution, with over 50,000 individuals participated, according to York police estimation. So this poster was also selected and featured for Femme Vie Liberté, a national poster project in France. Over 50 museums across France displayed and widely spread this and other posters throughout the months of March and April last year. Sorry, I didn't click to show you the pictures. So this is all from France and different museums that displayed it. And hard copies, they were free for people to pick up during the Women's Day and also the month after. And here, the digital version of the poster, it was used in concerts. On the left, this is a concert in France. To the right, this is the picture of a concert in Texas, US. And also Feminist Day of Action in Toronto. And you can see the hard copies of people holding it. And this is actually the one that I collected. Okay. So the video I'm about to show you, you might be familiar with it from the Iranian news agency. Let's see the video and then I explain. Hopefully I can play it from here. This was an art action by a collective of anonymous artists and activists that took place at Art Gallery of Ontario on December 7th, 2022. This date coincided with 16 Azar, 16 of Azar in the Persian calendar, Iran's National Student Day. As you saw, they unfurled 8 red banners with words "Women, Life, Freedom" alongside the portrait of Jina Amini to, quote, express solidarity with women protesters, student detainees inside Iran, unquote, as they stated in an interview with me. And this is just 2 pictures. People are looking. And then soon the security took up all the banners. The last one. So the last one from this collection is a banner made by Hajar Moradi, the artist that we saw earlier, her picture and the action she did in front of the Legislative Assembly of Ontario when she cut her hair with a group of activists. So she made this poster for Toronto's International Women's Day rally and march last year, and it is currently on display at the Canadian Museum for Human Rights in Winnipeg. And hopefully in the next 2 months, it will be transferred to CMH, Canadian Museum of History, where it will secure its permanent home in our collection. And I have here better picture. It's a little bit blurry, but not too bad. As you see, it features the English translation of the famous Kurdish slogan, Jen Jian Azadi. Slogans were crafted from braided black fabric strings, symbolizing women's hair strands. The banner was carried by a feminist collective called Feminists for Jina during the Women's Day March on March 4th, 2023. Have the pictures. So this is last year, Women's Day, and this is the collective Feminists for Jina. And later, in the abolitionist Pride Parade on June 25th, 2023. The most interesting aspect of the artwork is its participatory nature. During the Women's Day March, over 100 participants, exactly 110 participants, were invited to contribute their solidarity messages to women fighting for gender equality in the Middle East. These messages were inscribed on multicolored fabric squares, as you can see them here, 4 by 4 inch, and they are in over 10 languages, including Farsi, Kurdish, simplified Chinese, Hindi, Ojibwe, Spanish, and German, representing the diverse crowd presented during the march in Toronto. And I tried to pick some of the messages just to showcase the diversity of the language. And these 2 are my top 2 favorites. The one that you see on the left, in Arabic, La wujuda li watan hur illa bi nisaa hurra, meaning there is no free homeland without free women. This catchphrase was used in the 2019 Palestinian women's rights movement known as Taleat. And the other one is in Turkish, and I'm trying to do my best to do the right pronunciation. Dünya yerinden uynar kedenlar özgür olsa. This is a commonly chanted slogan in Women's Day marches in Turkey, mostly Istanbul, and translates to, the world would be shaken if women were free. And this one. Okay. Around the same time of the Women Life Freedom movement, the Stop Hazara Genocide movement was initiated in Afghanistan and its global diaspora. Since the withdrawal of NATO from Afghanistan and subsequently the fall of Kabul in 2021, the Taliban has used public femicide and targeted attacks on girls' schools as its primary tactic to erase women, especially the Shia Hazara ethnic minority, from public scenes in an effort to establish a gender apartheid regime. On September 13, 2022, 15 days after Gina's murder, the Taliban carried out a deadly attack at Kaj, a female educational center in Dasht-e-Barchi, a Hazara neighborhood in Kabul. Over 50 girls were killed and more than 100 were seriously injured in this suicide bombing. The Hazara Afghan diaspora in Canada joined the international Stop Hazara Genocide movement, demanding global attention and protection for women, especially Hazaras in Afghanistan. And these are the pictures from their rally and protest last 2022. And this one is actually new, 2024 in January. These audio files that I selected for you and I'm going to play shortly, they are from the rally they did in front of Toronto City Hall in October 2022. Towards the end of the rally, Iranians joined the Afghan community and they were both chanting together for women's rights. Let's hear the first one. And the second one. Even in this brief moment of listening to these chants reveal one of the most significant characteristics of the women life freedom movement. By nature, it has been intersectional from inception, as it wove together Iranians of multiple ethnicities, generations, and sexual orientations. It quickly became transnational by overtaking the Iranian diasporic communities by lightning speed. These chants, however, point out to the power and potential of this movement in creating feminist solidarities beyond the geopolitical border of Iran and its diasporas. The power of these chants' message is in simplicity. Iranian and Afghan women share the experience of injustice, even though the perpetrator used different titles in these countries. It is, of course, true that despite their similarities, their experiences are different in complex and multiple ways. Yet the chants and their invitation to unity ambitiously dream of solidarities beyond borders. Thank you so much.